Hello. Happy Sunday. I'm going to share my sermon for the day. The scriptures are from Romans 8:26 to 39 and from Matthew's Gospel chapter 13, verses 31 to 33 and 44 to 52. A number of people that I visit during the week spend a lot of time praying. Some are praying the rosary, some are praying from a list of relatives and friends and carers. But sometimes I'll visit someone and they'll say that they're not able to pray at the moment. They don't have the concentration, or they don't have the strength, or they don't have the faith. One of the readings for today is from a letter that the Apostle Paul wrote to the ancient Roman Christians at a time when Rome wasn't a Christian society. Paul says something strange and mysterious. When we're not able to pray, God's Spirit prays for us. God's Spirit prays in groans that are too deep for words. In these times, God seems absent, and God's Spirit is praying hidden prayers for us. The parables that we heard in today's gospel also have a theme of hiddenness. There is a tiny seed, one tiny seed, that is planted in soil. Once it's gone into the dirt, it can't be found again. But it grows and grows, and eventually you can't miss it because it's become a great salad tree, a towering salad, tall and big and strange, providing shelter for the birds of the field, the birds that eat the crops. And yeast is hidden in a vast amount of flour, enough to make a lot of bread, 100 loaves or more, much more than this. The yeast can't be separated from the dough and it can't be seen anymore. But the effect that it has becomes visible because of what it does to the bread. It makes the bread rise in the heat. Treasure is hidden in a field. A labourer is working and finds a precious treasure, maybe like this. It's such a beautiful treasure that he buries it again and goes away and sells everything he has so that he can buy this little bit of land and dig the treasure up again and act as though this is the first time he's found it, claim it for himself. It's not honest, but he doesn't care because the treasure is so good. His life is forever changed. And there is a business person looking for treasure, intentionally looking for treasure, looking for the finest pearls. Pearls were very expensive because people had to hold their breath and dive deep under the water to harvest them. Looking through these tiny treasures, the buyer finds something so beautiful that when he sees it, he's willing to give every treasure that is previously acquired in order to have this one tiny pearl. The fish are hard to make out below the surface of the water until they're caught and brought to the surface. Even then, the fishers have to sort them to find the good eating ones, and the good eating ones are kept to feed people, and the ones that are not good eating are put back into the sea. All of these parables are about things that have been hidden, but they become visible through growth, or they have to be discovered, or they have to be sorted to find the good ones. At the end of this section, Jesus talks about the work of a scribe, the work of the people who eventually wrote down these stories so that they could be passed on to us. I wonder what was going through the minds of the scribes who were writing these parables down when they came to a parable about their profession. Jesus says that the job of a scribe is to bring out the treasures, old and new. It suggests that the scribe needs to be looking out for the treasures while they're reading and writing. These treasures are hidden in the scripture, like the seed in the soil like yeast in bread, like a secret stash buried in a paddock, like the prettiest, tiniest pearl among all the beautiful tiny pearls, like the good eating fish from below the surface of the sea. What are the treasures of Scripture? They're the parts that have called us to turn our lives around, the parts that grow our faith, the parts that call us to live in the way of Christ, loving our neighbours, even loving our enemies. Not every part of the Scripture helps us with these things in an obvious way. That's why there's particular parts of the Scripture that we read in church and other parts that we don't. But we need to be studying the whole Bible. And if we do, we'll notice treasures in these parts that we wouldn't have read in church. We might accidentally uncover a new treasure that we haven't previously recognized. And when we do, we need to bring it out. We need to share it. We need to bring out the new treasures along with the old. The treasures are the encouragements that stay with us, helping us to walk in the way of Christ. When it's hard for us to pray, when we don't have the strength or the concentration or the faith, God's Spirit is still with us, praying in groans that are too deep for us to put into words. Prayers that are just below the surface of our understanding. The prayer of the Spirit is mysterious and hidden. It might seem like God's not there, but nothing can separate us from the love of God. This is a treasure of Scripture.